Hello again, friends, and welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, Greg, and this is Legendary Tabletop. Hope you enjoyed a silly little intro. We're doing some new things here on the channel. We took a little hiatus, and now we're back, but we're doing another old school Mordheim build. So I have this cool little toy from the dollar store, a little silly, whimsical Halloween costume type deal, but there's some great details on this piece. So I've pulled out my little baby screwdrivers, like the little computer screwdrivers, took that piece apart, and I'm going to build a mausoleum to go with my graveyard. Yeah, you guys can tell that I haven't done a video in a while. So here we go. There is a little MDF base. I'm just gonna kind of draw a little organic shape here to create the base of my mausoleum. And this is going to be the same sort of color scheme and the same sort of motif as some of the graveyard terrain that I made from the previous video. We're grabbing the old trusty glue gun. This thing has been through hell and high water. It looks like hell, but works like heaven. And gonna take some of our favorite crafting product here, that old wonderful pink XPS foam, and we're going to start building the base shapes of the mausoleum. And I like to go into some of these projects like this, especially foam projects, since it's so easy to glue things and cut the foam, that you can kind of like just sort of have a vague plan, and part of the build will kind of come to fruition through the process, and the process is kind of an inspiration for your creativity. So sometimes I guess what I'm trying to say in my little TED talk is it's better sometimes to just start doing a project, a creative project, instead of kind of living in that analysis paralysis purgatory. Everybody's different though too, so maybe you're a little bit different, but for me, I definitely get into that, and so I like to just go for it. So I'm building the structure here, but the idea is that it's gonna be in Mordheim, so obviously it's ruined, but one of the nice things about the foam is you can kind of build some of the structure and then tear some of the foam away to make it appear like a little bit more of a natural sort of destruction. And now we have this kind of cool little dragon thing from the shield, and the idea is that this is sort of like a little like temple thing on the inside, and then maybe we could use this for other stuff too. So it could be used for Mordheim, but also maybe for like a Dungeons and Dragons game, Frostgrave, that sort of thing, like the Rune Temple. You could use it something like this, or an approximation, something similar for all sorts of tabletop games. And so we kind of putting a little bit of this dollar store thinner foam here on top to kind of create sort of a ruined roof, because another great thing about Mordheim Terrain and terrain in general for games is verticality can be really fun. And so now that I have a little bit more experience making pieces, usually the one thing I do sort of pre-plan is at least to have several vertical layers, and just makes more fun. And now I have sliced up this plastic weaponry, and I'm using the handles of this sword for the pillars to kind of cheat and get a lot of this detail here. And just a little hot glue is pretty easy on the plastic, and then we use the hilt for the tops above, and it just makes sense. It looks good, and I'm liking this, and it just saved a lot of time. So then I sort of decided that this piece needed to be a little bit more elevated. I just spent 5 minutes scolding all of you to elevate your terrain, so I gotta practice what I preach. And so I make this kind of cool little rock face. I use the knife to create a little bit of texture on the sides to make it, obviously look like stone, and little steps that I carve in there too, because steps are great. And they're not very realistically sized steps, but as a lot of you know, we generally kind of make the steps a little larger so that the miniatures can stand. And now we're taking the piece and placing it where it will lay. And now I'm slicing some of these thin little triangles, going slow with a sharp blade, a couple passes here, in order to create some of the rooftop pieces here. This dollar store foam that I put on the top here is a little bit thin, so we're going to put a little bit of a thicker piece on top of it so we can carve into it once all the foam is glued together and we start doing the carving with the hot wire tool. But we're going to go step by step here, and yes, of course, when you are carving with your hot wire tool, be sure to practice safety first and put on your Bane mask. You have to have a respirator, open a window, be safe, and yeah, practice safety, kids. Yes, double thumbs up. And here, we're whipping out our little hot wire tool. Now, these things are so worth it. I'm so glad that I finally pulled the trigger. They're like $12, $13 on Amazon. I think on occasion they go on sale, and you can find them even for cheaper. And yeah, get one, but be safe with it. And this thing just is great. It's almost as if you can just draw right onto the foam. You have to add just a tiny bit of pressure, but for the most part, it saves so much time and just makes working with this foam so much easier. And so now I'm just going across the piece and finding all these little details that I had placed on here, these different rocks and things. And not to make this video way too long, in between I added a few other things here, added some pieces on the bottom here to create a little stepping stones. I took a lot of the scrap pieces from my offcuts and made little rocks to put out the side and the back, and just added a little bit of these kind of like I don't know, I'm not sure what you call these pillars on the side, just sort of some artistic architectural language so that this piece is also will fit with the other pieces that it's going with, that you'll see at the end of our video here. And yes, and then now one of my favorite sort of new discoveries to use for hobby is just cheap silicone caulking. And you can kind of use this as like a gap filler, and the best thing about it is that it's so inexpensive, but if you cover the foam in a thin layer of it, it also is kind of makes it much sturdier. I know a lot of people like to use that, like the Black Magic Craft Mod Podge stuff, but this is actually a little bit stronger than that. So once that dries, I'm going to get a little bit of this kind of cheap Elmer's glue, and I'm just spreading it all over the surfaces here to kind of create the rubble, and just different sizes of rock pieces here, and just kind of scattering them so that they appear to have fallen naturally, but not too many, because that will make our miniatures a little bit hard to stand up on the piece once we start to play an actual game with this. And it's starting to really come along here. And then now that I've let that dry, we've also added a little bit of sand in between those off camera, and now I'm creating my own little mix here, though instead of Mod Podge, because Mod Podge can be quite expensive these days, and so I like to just use the cheap glue, a little bit of water, and some black paint here. And then this is a really fun part, because you kind of finally get to see what the heck this piece is going to finally look like. And slowly but surely, you're gonna kind of use a really brush that you're okay with losing, and yeah, cover the whole piece. So then once that dries, I'm going to sort of dry brush, but I guess you might call it a wet brush, because I'm not really wiping the paint away, but I'm going to try and keep a lot of that black. And the acrylic paint that I'm using is going to appear much stronger when it's wet, and it gets very subtle as it dries. So just keep that in mind if you're just kind of first getting into acrylic paints. And so here we're kind of using the blue as the shadow and the more turquoise teal seafoam green color for like the highlights here. And so we kind of get this cool creepy dynamic. And now I'm just taking a couple different greens here, and I'm adding you know, what might look like moss or mold, and it's gonna go really great with the rest of my Mordheim table, which has a lot of this same stone motif, as well as the kind of classic gray motif. We're gonna hit some of the wood pieces here, and once we kind of get the main color, as long as we kind of go not too crazy with it, we don't need to do much like washing or shadows, that sort of thing, because we saved a lot of that with the black. And then so now I'm taking a little bit of a lighter color of teal and doing a lot of downward brushing towards the top of the piece in order to create the highlight here, to create the illusion that the light is coming down. And yeah, it's really coming along, and I've been kind of holding it next to the other pieces you'll see in the end of the video. And then we're going to add a final little spot dry brush of a sort of light beige tan situation. And there goes the church across the street from me, praise God. And yes, we have a little bit of you know, dry brush going on. And this is kind of tie a lot of this stuff together. And then the one final touch here, we're gonna do, you know, the leaves. And I have a lot of these nice little green stuff, whirled red and orange and brown leaves. But yes, everybody, thanks for watching. If you like this video, please like and subscribe, and we're gonna, you know what it is, we're gonna roll that beautiful bean footage. We'll see you next time.